There was a time not long ago when the world seemed divided by both distance and silence. On one side of the earth lay a small town called Everbright, just outside Los Angeles, known for its calm hills and golden sunsets. Life there was comfortable, its people blessed with abundance and security. Yet, far across the ocean, in a land battered by war and despair, the people of Gaza lived in shadows of fear, loss, and the deafening sound of injustice. For years, the cries of the innocent in Gaza rose to the heavens. Mothers wept over their children clung to the hope of a tomorrow that seemed less certain with every passing day. They prayed to Almighty, the most just, seeking relief from their suffering and a reckoning for those who supported their oppression. One day a spark was lit, not in Gaza but in Everbright. It was a careless act by visitors camping in the forest, leaving their fire unattended. The embers, caught by the wind, found a home in the dry grass. What began as a flicker soon grew into an uncontrollable blaze, roaring through the forest with a ferocity that no one had anticipated. As the fire grew, so did the panic in Everbright. The townsfolk, unprepared for such a calamity, scrambled to save their lives. Among them was an elderly woman named Mrs. Harper, a retired teacher who had spent her life teaching others about preparedness and the importance of community. Calmly, she gathered her emergency supplies and went door to door, helping her neighbors who were less prepared. But not everyone had heeded such lessons. Mr. Grant, a wealthy resident who often dismissed warnings about environmental care, stood helpless as the flames consumed his property. He had always thought of disasters as distant possibilities, the kind of things that happened to others, not to him. Far away in Gaza, a boy named Yusef knelt amidst the rubble of his home, whispering a prayer. "O the Almighty, we are powerless, but you are all-powerful. Do not let the cries of the oppressed go unanswered." The winds carried his words, silent to human ears but loud enough for the universe to hear. The fire in Everbright raged on, destroying homes, livelihoods, and dreams. Investigators soon discovered its origin, a single, careless act. But as the fire's devastation spread, whispers began to rise. Some saw the disaster as a natural calamity, while others wondered if it was something more, a response to something greater. For Everbright was not just a town. It was part of a nation that had turned a blind eye to the suffering of others. A nation whose leaders supported actions that caused despair in places like Gaza. The fire became a metaphor, a silent cry of justice echoing across the world. In Gaza, Yusef's mother spoke words of faith to her son. The oppressors think they are untouchable, but Allah's justice is neither early nor late, it is always on time. And indeed, the fire in Everbright seemed to carry a message. It destroyed not only forests and homes but also the illusion of invincibility. People began to reflect, not just on the carelessness that caused the fire but on the broader carelessness that allowed suffering to persist unchecked. As Everbright began the painful process of rebuilding, a young woman named Amara, who had worked as an aid volunteer in Gaza, stood before the townsfolk and shared her story. She spoke of resilience amidst despair, of children like Yusef who clung to hope despite having every reason to give up. She urged them to see their suffering not as an isolated tragedy but as a reminder that no act of injustice goes unanswered and that the balance of the world is delicate, easily tipped by negligence and apathy. From the ashes of Everbright, new life began to grow. Trees were replanted, homes rebuilt, and hearts softened. The fire had left scars, but it had also left lessons. In Gaza, Yusef and his family found strength in their faith, believing that justice was not far away. And in Everbright, the townspeople vowed to live differently, more mindful of their actions, more aware of their responsibilities, and more compassionate toward the suffering of others. For justice belongs to Allah, the most wise, the most just. He listens to the cries of the oppressed and uses even the smallest spark to awaken the hearts of those who have forgotten. And so, the story of Everbright in Gaza became a lesson for all who heard it. A lesson that whispered, to turn a blind eye to suffering is to light a fire that may one day consume your own. Stand for justice, protect the oppressed, and care for the earth. For only through unity, compassion, and accountability can we hope to create a better world. May we never forget this wisdom.